Hi, this is Anna's movie picks. I'm doing this because it's so boring in COVID and I like to dress up and I love movies, so I thought, hey, why not do something and share it with people. Right, my movie pick for today is on Netflix and it's called Marianna and Leonard, Words of Love. Now, I'm a sucker for a love story for a start. So this is a love story about Leonard Cohen and Marianna, something Norwegian or Danish or something, who seemed like a lovely woman, I have to add. Now, if you're like 20 years old, you've probably never heard of Leonard Cohen, because he was born way back in 1934 and he actually died in 2016 when he was 82. But he lived through all that, peace, love and happiness, sort of 60s era, free love. So if you're curious about the free love aspect of things, that's very, very well covered in this doco on Leonard Cohen. He actually started out as an author, which surprised me. I think he won a Booker Prize, which is, quite a high-ranking prize. But then he moved into writing songs and singing songs. He was a sort of strange guy in that, as with all creative people, and this is a theme that interests me, creative people often go through depression and their art springs out of their depression. Leonard Cohen's mum was actually a very depressed lady, and she ended up killing herself. And he would go through these periods of depression, but it kind of came out in his art, which is fascinating. I was watching this, it's, 1 hour 40 minutes or 1 hour 50 minutes, something like that. And a number of times I nearly flicked it off because it was late at night and I was thinking, should I go to sleep or should I watch this? I was sitting up in bed with my big TV at the end. But, it compelled me to go back to it. So it's interesting that it had something. It was a bit fascinating to me because, the 60s and 70s I know intimately. So therefore I was curious to see how he faced that period. And also I was very interested to know if the huge amount of drug taking, because he was heavily into LSD, uppers, downers and anything that was going at the time, of which there was a great deal, and he continuously took it for 13 days sometimes just to allow him to have that stage presence when he was doing his concerts and things. So it was fascinating to see that he actually lived till he was 82. So just goes to show you, even that sort of drug abuse doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die young, although it can do if you get the dosage wrong. What else was there? Oh yeah, Marianne, his love. She was the longest relationship he had, 8 years. 8 years he was with her on and off. It started out he was with her all the time on the island of Hydra in Greece, which looks like a paradise, or looked like a paradise from the footage. Apparently it was taken over by the yuppies and messed up later on, but at that time you can understand why he wanted to stay there. But he started out spending most of the time there with her. Then it was down to 6 months and he had another woman in New York that he was 6 months about. Then poor old Marianne got down to 4 months, 2 months, 1 month, 1 day a year. She was saying that what creative men make good husbands. I got to agree. You don't really see very many of them. I don't know if Jagger was a good husband. She stayed with him for quite a while, didn't she? you know, the blonde American lady who ended up marrying the media mogul. But I doubt that they are very good anyway. So there were lots of good themes, and the love story aspect of it was interesting also, because although Marianne was the love of his life, but it wasn't like a conventional love story. But he wrote these most beautiful words to her on her deathbed, and he died 3 months afterwards. And in actual fact, they had this enduring love, which, oh my God, tears came to my eyes. What can you say? I mean, I'm a sucker for love, even if it's strangulated and convoluted and messed up. Oh yeah, when he was actually doing his songs, you know, when he started to sing his songs, I thought, oh, this is pretty terrible. Oh God, I'm not getting this. But after the first few bars, it really got me into it. He was sort of raw and very earnest, and the stories were very personal, but very relatable. So, you know, obviously the dude had something, and I couldn't stop listening. He's a bit like Dylan, but not quite like Dylan. Same sort of era. They knew each other. Yeah. And more amazingly is later in his life, he'd spent 5 years in a monastery, you know, doing all the discipline and so on and so forth. Then when he got out of the monastery, all his money was gone because his agent, a lady, had spent it all. And he kind of said, oh, well, I still like her. I suppose I shouldn't, but I still like her. But I've got no money now. So at the age of 74, he went on the road and started to make 15 million a year. And I'm thinking, how can a 74-year-old man do a concert? And there's all these young people there who liked him. Go figure. I mean, fascinating. Well, there it is. I think it's well worth a watch if I were you and you've got a spare hour or so. And, you know, you've got Netflix at the end of your bed particularly. It's perfect. I suggest you watch it. Thank you so much for watching me, and bye for now.